Thank you. Please, let's all take your seats. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the launch of the toolkit and guideline to localize the ASEAN Regional Plan of Action on Women, Peace, and Security. Her Excellency, Dr. Inkanta Pavi, Minister of Women's Affairs of Cambodia, Excellencies and representatives from the Senate and National Assembly, Excellencies and representatives from ASEAN embassies and Timor-Leste, Excellencies and ambassadors and representatives from the bilateral embassies, representatives from the ASEAN Committee on Women and the ASEAN Commission on the Promotion and Protection of the Rights of Women and Children, and other ASEAN sectoral bodies who are joining us, representatives from ASEAN Dialogue Partners, ASEAN Development and Sectoral Partners, representatives from Cambodia's line ministries, representing the police and law enforcement, telecommunications, defense, foreign affairs, social welfare, the interior, environment, disaster management, and Committee on Human Rights. Welcome once again. Uh, at this juncture, I'd like to invite everyone to stand up for the national anthem of Cambodia to be followed by the ASEAN anthem. Thank you. Please take your seats. Good afternoon and welcome once again to this launch of the toolkit and guidelines to localize the ASEAN Regional Plan of Action on Women, Peace, and Security. I am Miguel Musni. I'm the Assistant Director and Head of the Poverty Eradication and Gender Division of the ASEAN Secretariat. And it is my absolute honor and privilege to facilitate this afternoon's proceedings. This launch is quite special. It has been a year since after the launch of the ASEAN Regional Plan of Action on WPS, also here in Phnom Penh. During the first year's implementation of the Regional Plan of Action in 2023, we have seen so many milestones achieved, and the launch of this toolkit this afternoon, as well as the awareness raising workshop that will be organized and convened tomorrow, is the perfect way to cap off the first year of the RPA's implementation. Now, throughout all of these initiatives, the strong leadership of Cambodia has been truly instrumental, particularly in coordinating the actions of the ASEAN Committee on Women and the ASEAN Commission on the Promotion and Protection of the Rights of Women and Children. This also includes the coordination with other ASEAN sectoral bodies, ASEAN entities, as well as civil society organizations, most especially engaging women's organizations in this very important endeavor. Now, to begin this afternoon's launch, I would like to invite on the stage Ms. Nurul Muhammad Rashid, Policy Advisor on Governance and Peace and Security for Asia and the Pacific, UN Women Regional Office for Asia and the Pacific, to give welcome remarks.
Republic of Korea, and ASEAN countries, including Timor-Leste, based in Cambodia. UN Women would like to welcome you to the launch of the ASEAN Localization Toolkit and Guideline, which will be followed tomorrow by an awareness-raising workshop. This event is made possible with the generous support of our partners, Australia, Canada, the Republic of Korea, and the United Kingdom. The launch of the first ASEAN Regional Plan of Action on Women, Peace and Security here in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, over 1 year ago, has inspired commitments and efforts to localize the WPS agenda at the national and subnational levels. Cambodia was one of the original members of the ASEAN Advisory Group on Women, Peace and Security and took full leadership in driving the development of the regional plan. Cambodia continues to chair the ASEAN Advisory Group on WPS to oversee the implementation of the Regional Plan of Action and led on the development of this guideline and toolkit with UN Women's support. The toolkit is aimed to assist ASEAN member states to develop women, peace, and security national action plans to effectively implement regional policy, as well as address emerging challenges. Now, localizing the regional plan should include a forward-looking outlook that addresses challenges of this century and a clear understanding of how the WPS agenda has evolved over the past 23 years. In recognizing the dynamic and complex roles played by women of diverse and intersecting identities, and in acknowledging the essential role of civil society organizations in a whole of society approach to implementation. Cambodia has achieved important milestones on advancing the WPS agenda. It has been exemplary with its contributions to United Nations peace operations globally, with plans to improve deployment of women in military contingents by 20% next year, and is as well a recipient of the groundbreaking LC Initiative Fund for Uniformed Women in Peace Operations. Now, as you may know, the Philippines launched its fourth action plan this week, an encouraging example of how the Asia-Pacific region has made remarkable strides in advancing the WPS agenda. We encourage more ASEAN member states to follow suit. At a juncture in our world where we are seeing more negative trend lines in the women, peace, and security goals, the United Nations Secretary General has recently noted that globally, military spending continues to rise, while progress on the Sustainable Development Goals, including Goal 5, is in peril. This inevitably means fewer resources allocated to social sector priorities, including on gender equality. No substantial progress has been made in increasing funding for women's organizations. And last year, women represented only 16% of conflict party delegations in United Nations involved peace processes. And processes are still taking place with no women as mediators, negotiators, or signatories. The nature of conflict and its drivers have shifted, as also highlighted in the ASEAN Regional Plan of Action, and must be understood in the context of rising conservatism, new technologies, and the digital space, pandemics, the climate emergency, and changing demographics. Globally, the gender dimension of this non-traditional security risk pose new challenges. For instance, the digital space is already the next gender equality battleground where misogyny and violent narratives against women are taking root, which will require new skill set and tools and protection measures for women rights defenders. We need women's leadership now, more than ever. In this regard, member states could also consider taking steps to use the existing regional networks and coalitions of skilled and experienced women peacemakers to help respond to crises, conflicts, and security risk in their region. Historically, civil society organizations in Cambodia play a crucial role in fostering constructive engagement on gender equality and the empowerment of women across various domains, including peace and security and development. Actively engaging with communities, civil society organizations, elevate women's voices and priorities, and deepen our understanding of the unique socioeconomic challenges they face, leading to more effective gender-responsive policies and a strengthened foundation for sustainable development. To conclude, UN Women is proud to partner with Cambodia and ASEAN member states and is committed to support ASEAN in the coming years, along with our other partners who are in this room, to unlock the transformational potential of the WPS agenda that will sustain investment in gender equality and that will create a roadmap for future generations to achieve a just, peaceful, and inclusive society. Congratulations again, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Norul Muhammad Rashid, for the welcome remarks. Now I would like to invite Her Excellency, Dr. Ing Kanta Pavi, Minister of the Ministry of Women's Affairs of Cambodia, to deliver her welcome remarks.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is a great pleasure for me to welcome all of you today to the launch of the Localization Toolkit and Guideline for the ASEAN Regional Plan of Action on Women, Peace and Security here in Phnom Penh. Your presence and participation are truly appreciated. If I may just remind you, the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 was one of the inspiring achievements of the global women's rights movement, recognizing that peace is inextricably linked with gender equality and women leadership. Transforming the ideal of the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 and the 9 additional Women, Peace and Security United Nations Security Council Resolution, commonly referred as the Women, Peace, Security Agenda, into action and real change has been a central pillar for all institutions working on gender equality. The Women, Peace, Security Agenda commonly refer to 4 pillars that encompass women participation at all levels of decision-making in the peace and security sphere, incorporate gender perspective into conflict prevention initiatives, protect the rights of women and girls, and ensure that gender considerations are integrated into relief and recovery efforts. The nature of conflict and its driver have shifted. the gender dimension of non-traditional security risks, including climate change, cybersecurity, and violent extremism, pose new challenges that require innovative response and solution. The implementation of the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 through national level policy framework has evolved from a general statement of commitment to a sophisticated policy process, most commonly articulated through a Women, Peace, Security National Action Plan. And as February 2023, 105 countries have adopted a national action plan, including 12 in the Asia and the Pacific region. As of 2020, worldwide, 17 states had Women, Peace, Security National Action Plan that directly include mention of climate change. Last year, during the ASEAN chairpersonship of Cambodia, we achieved the major milestone for women and girls in our region, ASEAN. As ASEAN leaders adopted the ASEAN Regional Plan of Action on Women, Peace and Security during the 40th and 41st ASEAN Summit in Cambodia. Cambodia, as the lead country for the formulation of the ASEAN Regional Plan of Action on Women, Peace, Security, was humbled by all the powerful synergy, continued support, and unwavering commitment by the ASEAN member states, ASEAN sectoral bodies, ASEAN entities, development partners, civil society organizations, and stakeholders that made this landmark step in advancing women, peace, security agenda a reality. Indeed, the development and adoption of the ASEAN Regional Plan of Action on Women, Peace, Security were itself learning and reaffirming process for all of us. We have come to comprehend that there are increasing human security challenges and that what we understand as security has evolved and expanded into many different shapes and forms. While the world still grapples with traditional security conflicts and crises, the emergence of non-traditional security threats, such as cybersecurity, violent extremism, natural, human-made, and climate-induced disaster, and the pandemic reminds us that we need to strengthen our preparedness and foster our resilience. Women at all levels have played instrumental roles in prevention, protection, recovery, and resilience building amidst all these conflict and security-related challenges. As such, their role and contribution should be recognized, promoted, harnessed, and celebrated. The ASEAN Regional Plan of Action on Women, Peace, and Security is, in this regard, a testament to the commitment, acknowledgement, and celebration of the invaluable role women have played in promoting sustainable peace and security in our region. And now is the time for our national and local actions. In this regard, it is imperative that the pivotal contribution of national and local actors and stakeholders in promoting and advancing the Women Peace Security agenda is not only scaled up, but fortified. The convergence of regional commitment and national endeavors will amplify the impact we strive for in the context of the implementation of the ASEAN Regional Plan of Action on Women, Peace, and Security. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, being cognizant of this indispensable alignment, Cambodia has led the localization initiative to implement the ASEAN Regional Plan of Action on Women, Peace, and Security. Localization for us is the effort to raise awareness of the existing global and regional framework on women, peace, and security among national, subnational, and local actors and leaders in order for them to enhance their understanding and identify the most appropriate way of implementing the Women, Peace, Security agenda within a national context. It is with trust that the the toolkit and guideline on localization for the ASEAN Regional Plan of Action on Women, Peace, Security, which is being launched today, will help support the ASEAN member state to bring the regional plan of action to national and local levels. With the toolkit's practical and versatile approach, national and local authorities will be able to identify women peace security priorities and localized women peace security agenda in their very own context. Secondly, the toolkit will serve as a vital instrument for the governments, relevant agencies, as well as civil society actors and other stakeholders from diverse backgrounds, laying the ground for more collaborative efforts and impactful synergy while ensuring consultative and collaborative processes to achieve tangible results for the Women, Peace, Security agenda. As for Cambodia, we are committed to develop the National Action Plan on Women, Peace, Security, of which the process will commence in early 2024. It is with my hope that Cambodia experiences and journey in formulating our own action plan will generate invaluable learning, not only for us, but also for other ASEAN member states. In closing, I would like to express my sincere thanks to all delegates and to UN Women, along with the development partners, especially from Australia, UK, Korea, and Canada, and to foster and reinforce women-led efforts towards a peaceful future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for those inspiring words. If we could invite Her Excellency to stay on the stage so that we can transition to the next part of the program. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to memorialize this launch through a group photo. So for the first round, may I invite Ms. Ibuyanti Kusumawardani, ACWC Chair, and Ms. Sukpapon Fanit, ACW Law PDR representing the ASEAN Committee on Women, to join Her Excellency up on the stage. Her Excellency, Dr. Inkanta Fabi, will now symbolically hand over the ASEAN Localization Toolkit and Guidelines to ACW and ACWC. So now we'd like to invite the photographers to take this photo. All right, now I would like to invite excellencies, ambassadors, and dignitaries to join Her Excellency, Dr. Inkanta Pavi, Ibuyanti, and Ms. Sukpapon up on the stage for a group photo. We'd also like to invite UN Women to join. We'd like to invite the photographers to also friends at the back who are using their mobile phones to take photos. Thank you. Okay, now we will take the photo of all the in-person participants. We'd like to request Her Excellency, also the ambassadors and dignitaries to go back to their respective chairs, but remain standing. I think the choreography now will be for the photographers to go up on the
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, very good afternoon to you all, and thank you very much for being here and taking your time to be with us today on this very special occasion of the first anniversary of the launch of the Regional Plan of Action. We have started the year 2023, the first year of the implementation of the Regional Plan of Action, with a high note, with a lot of excitement since the ASEAN Summit, the last ASEAN Summit has taken place here in Cambodia. And we're ending the year with a very, very high energy as we concluded, as we promised. This product is one of the 3 key priority action that was outlined in the Regional Plan of Action that we're committed to deliver today. So I'm standing here before you just as a medium, a channel of presentation, but really this work is a collective work of so very many people. So just look at me as a medium to channel that energy, and all of that is in this room, including my partner in crime, Mr. Miguel over there, who without the ASEAN Secretariat, none of this would be possible. And without all of your support and all of your active participation, especially the leadership of Cambodia, none of this would be possible. So this is how ASEAN is working together. We're stronger together despite our very diverse and very different nature and differences in our region. But we have more, as much as we were celebrating success, we do admit that we have more that we have to do in our region to become a stronger and more inclusive region, much more issues and challenges to address, and we have not forgotten about ongoing conflict and violence in different places in our region. But we must keep our eyes and our efforts on what we can and what we must do to make a difference. And this is one of our one of the first 3 products that we're trying to do, and through the institution like ASEAN and the United Nations and UN Women, this is the kind of work that we hope that it will contribute to address the difference in the region. Next slide, please. Okay, so just to quickly outline in my brief presentation today, hopefully not take too much time, we're going to touch upon the why and the what the toolkit is for, and who will be using these toolkits, and the 2 strategic options and 2 key approaches in the toolkits for the localization of the Regional Plan of Action, and then just walk you through a couple of broad key steps to develop NAPs. Obviously not have time to go into the details today, but just to give you a feelings and a flavor of what the toolkits look like. And then we'll probably have a chance for us to discuss a little bit in Q&A. Next slide, please. On the why, I mentioned that this is one of our key priority actions in the Regional Plan of Action, priority action 6.4.1 and 6.4.2, to find a way to help support ASEAN member states to then localize the Regional Plan of Action by identifying key WPS issues, identify concrete actions, including the tools to implement WPS priority in the region, as well as developing the guideline and support national and local authorities, a wide range of partner in the process of making this relevant to the national context. Next slide, please. Let me just kind of like step back a little bit, as ASEAN is not the only one standing region in the wider global efforts. We have heard in a previous welcoming session around the efforts of the UN Security Council that call for member states to develop national action plan to advance the women, peace, and security agenda. But we also let me just remind you that in 2015, we did have the global study that UN Women has put forth to provide a comprehensive evidence that women participation is the key to sustaining peace and security, especially, and here there was a big emphasis in the global study on national and local level engagements. And then we have heard today in the previous sessions that the very changing nature of peace and security challenge in the world that we're facing today, and the emergence of expanded human security threat that call for the leadership and critical role of national and local stakeholder in the prevention and response, because to make it really effective, everything must be done in the contextualized and specific 23rd year of implementation. So during the 20th anniversary of the 1325, I think we have a lot of things that, including the pandemic, that was a wake-up call for all of us to address critical gaps to realize inclusive, sustainable peace. And this put a lot of emphasis in reporting the result, because we have learned that despite all the efforts, despite so many naps that we have all over the world, regardless of racial poor, way to go in enhancing the monitoring and reporting of women, peace, and security agenda. So this is a common challenge for all of us, whether it's developed countries or developing countries, or donor countries, or recipient countries. So something that we hope that through the very efforts of ASEAN, and we're very, very proud to be part of the movements in ASEAN to actually look into this M&E work, and this localization toolkits has a big section around M&E efforts. Next slide, please. So what is this toolkit for? Next slides, please. It's for awareness raising, it's for guidance of national action plan, and last but not least, at this particular moment in time, I kept saying this again and again, that we have the high momentum, unprecedented momentum to advance women, peace, and security agenda at the national level. But what it really means is that the regional plan of action will not translate into any concrete action if it doesn't really lead to our national action plans in many other ASEAN member states, because 80% of the priority action that's outlined in the regional plan of action has to happen on the ground, has to happen at the national and country level. And that's why regional and national synergies of efforts will be key to this work. Next slide, please. Would outline quite a various number of stakeholders in the slides here. And I wanted to just quickly, I don't want to go to the list here because there's very many, but I just wanted to highlight that one of the very key opening for the regional plan of action that has highlighted the important role of civil society and women organization. And that's give a very, very strong spotlight also to the need to ensure engagements of the government and civil society and women organizations that have been at the forefront of the women, peace, and security agenda over the past so many years. Next slide, please. So two strategic approaches that we have seen in the way that countries can use to localize a regional plan of action. One is to integrate the women, peace, and security issues into existing initiative, laws, and policy. That's one way of doing it, such as the existing national development plans, any other strategic papers and development plans that are relevant to national security or defense strategies. Or the second way of doing it is to have a standalone plan. And obviously, as UN Women, we always advocate for you to consider having a standalone plan that is National Action Plan on Women, Peace, and Security. National Action Plan on Women, Peace, and Security details the action that the government is taking and will be taking in a context of given context of time frame, with the clear obligations that are linked back to the 10 UN security resolutions that have been passed. And since 2002, follow up in 2004, the UN Security Council has been calling on the member state to develop clear strategies and action plans with goals and timetables, with the focus on constraints that face women and girls in post-conflict settings through their respective NAPs and other national level strategies. And also, if you look at the ASEAN Regional Plan of Actions on Women, Peace, and Security, it also encourages ASEAN member states to develop their own national action plan or any other national level strategies that can be implemented. The importance of national context in any peace instruments, direct effects of security threats and impacts of actions are felt at this level. Next slide, please. Just to quickly outline some of the quick advantages and disadvantages and look at the two approaches. On one hand, the approach is to integrate the WPS into existing plans. It may require less resources, or it may allow countries to be able to align existing plans and existing resources, perhaps better than developing a standalone plans. That's one of the advantages that people may argue for. The disadvantages here is that WPS issues like gender mainstreaming can become an add-on, or it can become a tokenistic subject, or become lost in the stream, so to speak. So resources may not be delivered, or maybe deliver for the WPS issues. It's very hard to see that. Now, on the standalone plan, the advantages here is that it helps to really have a dedicated focus and national awareness around the WPS issues and challenges, and look at enhancing capacity building of various stakeholders, and focus on implementation of context-specific national priorities and policies. It also probably easier if you have a standalone policy plans to monitor and allocate financial resources and track them, and whether they achieve the results and match with the resources that has been allocated. And last but not least, is also allow multi-stakeholder partners to engage and to see themselves in a different role and responsibility. And it builds a broader ownership and commitment, as you can imagine. So on the disadvantage side, it's definitely, as you can see at the ASEAN level, it's required a really huge efforts in terms of coordinating across different line ministries, across different stakeholders. And we've heard this a lot around cross-sectoral collaboration. I think one of the way of looking at this WPS agenda is not a women agenda. It's not a specific one sectoral issues. It's really cross-cutting. And you can see now, even with the interpretation and the wider range of non-traditional security issues, WPS become wide-ranging and quite encompassing, and require much more efforts of coordination and plans. In countries in our region, like Indonesia, for instance, it means even more complicated coordinating between national and local level, as the countries is the most decentralized, or one of the most decentralized countries in the world. So the governance, horizontal and vertical coordination becomes one of the key issues to look into. And the plan might be in the past, right? And this disadvantages is coming from our review of the lesson learned of the NAPs over the past 20 years, is that sometimes you have a nice plan with a nice commitments at the national level, but it may not be follow through with required resources and efforts to actually implement them. So it started usually as a policy aspiration, but it gets better over time with the efforts. Next slide, please. Just to give you a quick flavor of different NAPS approaches that are adopted by countries, and I think this might be beneficial for countries in the region that are considering doing NAPS. We have an inward-looking NAPS that's like in Sudan or in Uganda, that look into their own specific context to address their national level issues and subnational level issues. And then you have then outward-looking NAPS like Norway or Canada that look into like supporting other countries. Like, typically this kind of NAPS is led by Foreign Affairs Ministry, whereas like in the inward looking plan, it's more likely to fall under the Ministry of Gender or Social Affairs, or in many cases, or some cases, the Ministry of Security and Interior assume the leading role. Some countries may adopt a mixed approach, combine inward and outward looking approach. For instance, Indonesia and the Philippines. You see the list there of the upcoming one in Thailand, and the second generation of NAPS in Timor-Leste, that may be a mix of the approach that look into both in national and issues of contributing to the international peace and security. Next slide, please. In this figure, it shows a number of countries that have developed national action plans as of mid-2023. And in Asia Pacific as a whole, 13 countries have launched their plans on women, peace, and security. Several of the 10 ASEAN member states have made progress in establishing the plans and other national policy framework to implement UNSC Resolution 1325. We know that Thailand has started implemented the measure and guideline on women, peace, and security, and currently working to develop the first ever national action plan that look into the issues of peace and security beyond the context of Southern Thailand and perhaps the application across all the different regions. We know that there's an interest from Cambodia. We know that Vietnam is working very proudly across 11 ministries, line ministries, to look at how they can contextualize WPS into Vietnam. And we'll hopefully hear some good news from them next year in terms of adoption of NAPS for both Thailand and Vietnam. We also know that apart from Cambodia, who have given us a lot of encouragement today with Madam Minister, highlighting the process should start in next year. We know that Malaysia, Laos, PDR, and maybe a few others might be interested, maybe not coherently the national agenda or somewhere else, but I think there's a lot of champion at the national level who might be interested to see how the RPA on the WPS is relevant for them. So there's a lot of interest. So we definitely hope that these products will be helpful for them. Next slide, please. Okay, just to give you a quick flavor, and I'm not sure if I'm doing the fair justice to the product. It's quite long. It's some 68 pages, but just to give you the kind of process that it's outlining. So in the document, there's 3 steps, right? So the first step is the planning of NAP, which is very important. I think it's a very important part of making it strong or not is starting here. And it starts with the structure that anchor and oversee all the activities, and usually led by the government, member of different organizations with clear envisioned role and responsibilities, ensure, and this is important to ensure efficiency in implementation. And that's why I really appreciate the efforts and the preparation in an upcoming awareness raising workshop tomorrow of Cambodia that bring in line ministries, various different potential partners into this, because it has to start from day one in terms of engaging cross-sectoral collaboration. It's also about awareness raising and sensitization to enhance various stakeholders' engagement and understanding about alignment of these regional and national priorities on women, peace, and security issues. Important to foster, as you know, political will and the broad-based ownership, and most importantly, cross-sectoral collaboration between government and non-state actors, and familiarize them with the relevance of existing global and regional policy framework that they have already committed to. In other words, we also wanted to make sure that people can see that committed to, let's say, the national plan of action on women, peace, and security at the national level. How can this be fully aligned with their current commitment at the ASEAN level, at the global level, and reporting them at once? We're also looking to coordination side of things and collaboration because of the multi-stakeholder and multi-sectoral nature of the issues. You will see in your bag, in your tote bag today, the regional plan of action has the 5th pillar, that actually dedicated to coordination and implementation, which is actually something that we have learned from others, that without that, it's really hard to make the vision into become the reality, because coordination is often the most complicated part. So this also entails the roles and responsibilities of others. I just like to highlight some example, right, that of the cross-sectoral collaboration. In the Philippines, this NAPS that was just launched, and Nurul just highlighted in her welcoming remark, it was very festive to see the 3rd National Action Plan for the Philippines. Very ambitious, very, very progressive, and 10 years of implementation. Is led by the Office of Presidential Advisor on Peace and Reconciliation and Unity at the Office of the President. And you will hear the Executive Director presenting tomorrow about their NAPS and their NAPS process and some key lessons learned that could be helpful for Cambodia. This is also very key because OPAP will also look into collaborating with various sectors. There's a huge role of civil society and women organization that has been played in the Philippines in terms of advocacy, awareness raising, planning, and inputs. And currently they will dedicate it the next 6 months after this launch. I think the process has started even before the launch, but they will dedicate it very decent amount of time, 6-7 months, to go into develop a proper M&E framework for the NAPS. So hopefully in 2024, we will have 4 countries of ASEAN member states for sure that will have not only put their national commitments on women, peace, and security translating from the regional plan of action, but also a very strong M&E framework that is actionable. Strong M&E framework that is actionable, that is collectible in terms of data. We don't want a very beautiful policy instrument that is not realistic, right? Or that we cannot ever collect data to actually measure them. Another part that is so important that was highlighted in the step 1, which I think is something that we will have to drill down further in the context of Cambodia and other countries that may be interested in exploring localization of the BPS, is the situation analysis and look into institutional audit, look into formal commitments of government to women, peace, and security agendas, existing policies and law, institutions, or national support to implement the agenda. It would be important to look at contextual assessments of challenges to integrate gender perspective into peace and security sector. So this is more than just looking at gender equality, but looking at how do you integrate the gender perspective into the sector that may have not actually look at the issues and challenges for. And here in the context of Cambodia, there could be a wide range of issues. So we actually put together the plan to do a little bit of prioritization and see what are the aspects that could be helpful. We also need to map the stakeholders that will be engaged and alignments of NAPS and other policies because that will help us in terms of aligning our resources and efforts. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, this one was requested by ASEAN and ASEAN member states to actually flash a little bit high impact framework. What is required for us to have a high impact framework? And here you can look at it. I think it's kind of like repetitive with my previous slides in terms of some key elements that need to be there. Definitely a lot of political will, but also like look into inclusive participation and process. And the more inclusive the process is, the more broad-based ownership, the more likelihood of implementation. We talk a lot about M&E process because that's where we feel that is the weakest aspect of NAPS that we have seen in the last 20 years. Also the coordination system, the civil society participation and contribution. And last but not least, the financing and the budgeting issues, which is we know and we've learned from Vietnam experience, and I think we will hear more from them also tomorrow, that they have actually put a serious thought into costing of the NAPS at the get-go because they want it to be real. So I think these are some kind of consideration that need to be thought through in terms of to have high impact NAPS. Next slide, please. The third step here is operationalization, adoption and launch, implementation, and documentation of key lessons learned that will feed back into the next cycle of NAPS. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm just flashing these last 2 slides and you'll be happy to hear that this is the end of the presentation. This is an infographic that we came up with so that it's easy for you to digest, but obviously the next slides, if you can flash the next slide. So this summarizes the 1, 2, 3 steps that we were talking about just now. And next slides, please. Here. This, just to be environmental friendly, we did not print the publication, but you could look at infographic and download them on your phone or your iPad, or otherwise download the full localization toolkit here. I'm going to leave you here with these slides. I want to thank you very much for your attention and for your collaboration and your very valuable partnership. I'd like to attribute all of these high notes, ending notes to everyone in the room and online, and so many people that we have not mentioned. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rice. I understand that in our program, we allotted a couple of minutes for some questions. If anyone from the in-person participants would like to ask any questions, or maybe from the Zoom platform, but perhaps we can just take note of those questions. I think we're about ready to get our coffee here in the ballroom. So perhaps just a quick announcement. For our online participants, we will be taking your photo in a while, and my colleagues from the Jakarta team will be facilitating that. So maybe if anyone has any questions from the online participants, you can post them in the chat box. And for the in-person participants, we can catch Rice later during the coffee break. So maybe we can give one more huge round of applause for Rice. Thank you for the presentation. And perhaps we can proceed to our well-deserved coffee break. So for the in-person participants, I think our coffee break is just outside this ballroom. And we have around 15 minutes for this coffee and tea break. Now, I'd like to check colleagues from Jakarta. Irma, would you be able to facilitate the photo taking for the online participants?
Yes, Mas, but we can do it now. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to please activate your camera so we can take a group photo while the in-person participants are taking their coffee break. Thank you so much. We're waiting for some other participants to activate their camera. Okay, we have a few activating their cameras. Okay, I think everyone is ready. Let me just check. Yumi is tidying up her hair, and then, okay, let me check screen two. Okay, I think everyone is ready. Please give your best smile on my count, please. 1, 2, 3. One more time, just for good measure. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now can we please stay on first while I'm taking the picture of participants on the next screen? Okay, we have you now. Please give our best smile. Thank you. 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back shortly after the in-person participant are completing their coffee break. I think we also deserve a little bit coffee break. See you in 10 minutes, I think.
Lô check 1 2 3 Check mùi bị bệnh.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. If we could invite in-person participants to start making their way back to the ballroom. We will be starting the next session in a couple of minutes. We'd also like to invite the online participants to make their way back to their seats or in their cubicles or from wherever they are joining us online. We will be starting the next session shortly. Once again, we would like to invite the in-person participants to make their way back to the ballroom. And please join us here in the ballroom so that we can start with the next session. All right, to our friends who are still outside, we're feeling a bit lonely here in the ballroom. If you can all join us here in the ballroom so we won't feel so lonely. We can hear your laughter and your lively conversations outside. Maybe you can bring them here inside the ballroom. If you can join us here in this meeting venue so that we can proceed to the next session. I'll be inviting as moderator and then hand over the microphone to you. Maybe while we're waiting for in-person participants to make their way back to the ballroom, I see that there are some messages in the chat box. Maybe from the Jakarta team, if we could just check if we have any questions or comments in the chat box.
Hello, Ms. Miguel. We would like to share that so far we have received no comments yet. The chat box for informing participants about the YouTube stream, as well as the link to the publication and infographics, Mas.
All right. Thank you very much, Irma, for that update. So, for the benefit of our online participants, our team is continuously monitoring the chat box for any comments or questions that you might have about the toolkit and guidelines. No? All right. I see that most of our friends have already made their way back to the ballroom. I hope that everybody has been energized after the coffee and tea break. And we're now ready to move on to session two. For this session, we will be focusing on experiences and lessons learned in designing and implementing WPS national action plans. And we are very fortunate to have representatives from the Philippines and Vietnam as our resource persons. And now I'd like to invite our friend, Ms. Nurul Muhammad Rashid, to moderate this session.
Thank you and welcome back to this session. Now, this session we will have two presentations, and the two excellent speakers from Vietnam and from the Philippines will be speaking about the experiences and lessons learned from ASEAN countries in designing and implementing Women, Peace and Security National Action Plan. Now, I'm pleased to introduce our first speaker. I think she's online. So I was in Manila this week to celebrate alongside our next speaker, who is joining us online, Asak Susana Guadalupe Maqueda, on the launch of the Next Generation National Action Plan. Now, Ms. Maqueda is the Executive Director, Office for Local Conflict Transformation and Peace Sustainability, Office of the Presidential Advisor on Peace, Reconciliation and Unity, or APRU, in Manila. And that office supervises the local conflict transformation program affected and conflict vulnerable communities. She also chairs the National Steering Committee on Women, Peace and Security, and serves as the Philippines focal point for the United Nations Focal Point Network on Women, Peace and Security. So she will be sharing experiences and lessons from the Philippines. Ms. Maqueda, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Nurul, and good afternoon to all the distinguished participants during this launch of the toolkit, ASEAN toolkit, localization toolkit, and guideline and awareness raising workshop. Okay, I'd like to check my audio. Is my audio okay? Is my audio okay?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. From our
Are you all
end,
able
your
to
audio
hear?
is okay.
Yes. Okay. Yes, the audio is
Okay.
is fine.
On behalf of Secretary Curly, thank you very much, Nurul. On behalf of Secretary Galvez, the Presidential Advisor on Peace, Reconciliation of the Steering Committee on NAP-WPS, it is our privilege to share the experience of the Philippines in designing and implementing the NAP-WPS. We recently launched, as was mentioned earlier by Nurul and Rice, that the Philippines has just recently launched its fourth generation NAP, which spans a 10-year plan, 2023 to 2033. True to the spirit of the whole of nation approach that birthed the Philippine NAP WPS, let me start by acknowledging my colleagues from the bureaucracy, our civil society grassroots, and women's human rights defender partners, whose dedication and contribution to the WPS agenda informed our presentation today. It is essential to highlight that the foundation of our WPS rests upon international human rights instruments. This serves as a crucial reminder that NAPs inherently embody and express women's rights. As a backgrounder, the Philippines WPS agenda is anchored on the following international policy documents and agreements adhered to and ratified by the Philippine government. First is the International Humanitarian Law, or the Law of the Armed Conflict, which seeks to limit the effects of armed conflict by protecting people who are not or are no longer participating in hostilities, such as civilians, wounded or sick combatants, and prisoners of war. The Philippines also ratified the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, or CEDAW, which aims to eliminate discrimination against women in all fields and spheres, and holds both state and non-state actors in the case of violation of human rights. It is by far the only human rights treaty which affirms the reproductive rights of women and targets culture and tradition as influential forces shaping gender roles and family relations. Third, we are a party to the Beijing Platform for Action, which is a landmark document for advancing women's rights and gender equality worldwide, focused on its 12 critical areas of concern, including women and armed conflict and the girl child. Fourth is the United Nations Security Council resolutions that focus on the impact of armed conflict on women and girls and the importance of their meaningful participation in peace processes and decision-making. These resolutions aim to address the specific needs and rights of women and girls in conflict situations and promote gender equality and women's empowerment in peace-building efforts. Finally, the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly SDG 5, on pursuing the main goal of real and sustained gender equality in all aspects for women and girls. The Philippines has Republic Act number 9710, or the Magna Carta of Women. This is a comprehensive women's rights law that seeks to eliminate discrimination against women by recognizing, protecting, fulfilling, and promoting the rights of Filipino women, particularly those in marginalized sectors. It provides the policy framework in ensuring that all women shall be protected from all forms of violence as provided for in existing laws. Agencies of government are mandated to prioritize the defense and protection of women against gender-based offenses and help women attain justice and healing. One of the benefits of a law like the Magna Carta for Women would be the fiscal guarantee that there will be a budget for the WPS work. Without a budget, there's no viable action plan. Insufficient budget allocation will lead to failure of NAP implementations. Executive Order number 865 created the National Steering Committee on Women, Peace and Security, for short, or NSCWPS for short, which is mandated to provide overall direction as well as manage, coordinate, monitor, evaluate, and report on the implementation of the NAP. At present, the National Steering Committee has 19 members, 9 comprising its executive committee and 10 technical working group members. The National Steering Committee is chaired by the OPAPRO, the Peace Process Office, and is co-chaired by the Philippine Commission on Women. In recognition of the multiple and intersecting gender issues and the significant role of civil society organizations, this particular executive order is undergoing an amendment to expand the membership to include seats for more national government agencies and seats for civil society organizations. The National Action Plan on Women, Peace and Security is anchored on 4 cross-cutting pillars, namely empowerment and participation, protection and prevention, promotion and mainstreaming, and monitoring and evaluation. When crafting a NAP, it's crucial to provide clear guidelines to various departments or ministries on how they should execute and report their WPS agenda. This includes outlining specific accountabilities to ensure effective implementation. Shown here are the different memoranda, joint circulars issued by key agencies of government that has to do with the budget, national planning, local government supervision, and the Philippine Commission on Women. In recognition of the WPS agenda, a particular memorandum mandates member agencies of the steering committee to incorporate women, peace, and security programs, plans, and actions in their annual GAD budgets. The policy was aimed at strengthening the roles of the steering committee member agencies. This is another milestone for the bureaucracy, as it will ensure that GAD budget for interventions for women in conflict-affected and conflict-vulnerable areas will be rightfully and equitably allocated and utilized. To develop the blueprint that will dictate the strategic direction of the fourth generation NAP WPS, the third generation underwent a sunset review. This was a comprehensive national level multi-stakeholder process that assessed the progress of the NAP and identified the challenges that it encountered. The review done for 2017-22 NAP involved regional offices of steering committee members from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, the entire country, civil society members of REACT 1325, as well as international partners like UN Women and Oxfam Pilipinas. OPAPRU, as the steering committee secretariat, conducted workshops, groupings offices situated in Luzon together. The same scheme was applied to those located in the Visayas and in Mindanao. Each workshop tackled all the substantive pillars of the NAP, the subject of intersectionality, and ways forward for the NAP 2023-2033. The recognition of the contribution that civil society organizations provide in the development and implementation and review of the NAP included the consideration of an 11-point civil society agenda. During the review, a number of emerging issues surfaced, prompting the adoption of future-proofing strategies that will make the 10-year NAP resilient and responsive to existing issues and developing realities that continue to redefine the security landscape of the agenda. The implementation of the NAP from 2017 to 2022 accomplished the following gains. There is a significant increase in women's participation in the peace process, as women are seen to hold more decision-making positions in various peace processes. We also saw women of diverse backgrounds, including grassroots women, contributing significant technical support to the peace talks. Third, women's concerns and welfare were integrated in the peace agenda and outcome documents, such as in the Framework Agreement on the Bangsamoro, the Comprehensive Agreement on the Bangsamoro, and the Bangsamoro Organic Law, as well as in localized peace engagements and transformation programs for communist-related conflict situations. Active CSO support was instrumental in achieving the targets in policy advocacy. Lastly, there's an increase in the recognition of women's role in peace building and enhanced gender responsiveness through instituted mechanisms and policies within security agencies. The Sunset Review also identified implementation gaps. It was found that there should be a clear distinction between GAD and WPS interventions, improved link between the national agencies, peace and security interventions to the targets of the NAP, localized efforts of the policy document through ensuring multi-level implementation at the national and local levels, and the weakness in the NAP's monitoring and evaluation framework and mechanisms must be addressed. As one of its improvements from the 2017-2022 document, the 10-year NAP aims to harmonize UN Security Council Resolution 1325, UNSCR 1820, the ASEAN Action Plan on WPS in the international level, the frameworks adopted in the BARM Regional Action Plan on WPS, and the 11-point civil society agenda. This ensures that the NAP-WPS will adopt a holistic and inclusive approach, maintaining a balance between international, national, and local contextualization. The journey of the development of the fourth NAP began in 2022. And we were happy to show, and we were happy to inform everyone that the launch was very successful last December 11. And I'd like to mention here that taking off from one of the insights or inputs of the toolkit, where it said that the launch should be made high profile so that the plan could get more support, we adapted that from one of the insights from the ASEAN toolkit, and we would like to thank you for that advice. Moving from the launch, we are now working towards the localization and mainstreaming work, as well as preparations for the setting up of a monitoring and evaluation of the 10-year plan. The next slides will show us the roadmap that we have crafted together with steering committee and CSO members. We were ably assisted and supported by the UN Women in crafting this roadmap for our M&E development. Alongside the OPAPRU, throughout the NAP-WPS journey, are peace partners from member agencies of the National Steering Committee, various international partners, various embassies, representatives from the Association of ASEAN Nations, UN Women, Oxfam Filipinas, as well as the different women's organizations, and we Act 1325. So this was a very happy occasion where we all got together to celebrate the launch of the 10-year plan. The unwavering dedication and collaborative spirit of each partner and stakeholder involved in the fourth generation NAP underscored the shared responsibility in advancing women's empowerment, peace, and security in the Philippines. Professor Hasmin Galase pointed out the similarity of the first and fourth generation NAP, as they are both rooted in the conflict experiences of people and their dreams of peace. Further, she recognized that the core of the NAP is on empowering women's agency to be the agents of peace. Further, Mr. Neri Ronatay of UN Women pointed out two specific additions to the action points to the NAP-WPS. These additions are an attempt to future-proof our NAP and ensure that it covers emerging issues that are foreseen to remain relevant within the next 10 years. I would like to invite you, and you may access our 10-year NAP and download it through this QR code or by visiting the OPAPRU website, peace.gov.ph. With this, we end our presentation. Thank you very much. Maraming salamat po.
A big round of applause for Susanna. Thank you so much, Susanna. I think, of course, the Philippines is one of the pioneers in Southeast Asia to develop and implement a national action plan on women, peace, and security. And we're very happy that they have come such a long way, and they're now in the fourth iteration of their national action plan. I just want to summarize very briefly what Susanna has presented. She has highlighted, of course, the importance of having a carefully structured process to get to where they are right now. And she highlighted, for example, the engagement of multi-stakeholders, particularly on civil society organization. She acknowledged the importance of women human rights defenders in the development of the process. She also highlighted the international frameworks that are already out there, that many member states are already a party to the Sustainable Development Goals, the 1325 Security Council resolutions, CEDAW, international humanitarian law, and so on and so forth. At the national level, she also highlighted the relevant standards that could apply to the National Action Plan, including policies on budgeting that was so important to the success of the National Action Plan. She also highlighted the structure, a national steering committee, and the composition and the representative composition of that particular structure. And then she also highlighted, of course, the how to integrate the women peace and security plans and actions in the annual gender and development plans, but also into the budget. She talked a little bit about the review of the previous SNAPs before moving on to the next SNAP, which is really, really important because then you are able to highlight what are some of the gaps, what were the emerging issues since the last SNAP was developed, but as well as the accomplishments through a proper monitoring and evaluation structure. And all this informed, of course, the development of fourth generation. We're very happy that the Philippines are taking some time to look at the monitoring and evaluation framework for this 10-year NAP. And we look forward, of course, to hearing more about it and sharing the lessons learned from the monitoring and evaluation process. So thank you so much, Susanna, for that presentation. I want to now turn to my next speaker, and fortunately she's with us here, my colleague from UN Women Vietnam. Please do come and join me on stage, Ms. Vu Tu Hong. Ms. Hong. Now, Ms. Hong has been with the UN Women since 2021. Before joining UN Women, she worked at the Mekong River Commission Secretariat as the Chief Human Resource Officer from 2016 to 2021, and with the USAID Program Governance for Inclusive Growth as the Inclusive Growth Director under Chamonix International. She also worked with UNIFEM, which is now UN Women, in 2004 to 2006, and various other international agencies such as Oxfam Great Britain, Swiss Development Cooperation, World Vision, Plan International, and others. Ms. Hong has a master's degree in public administration at the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy at the National University of Singapore, and she will be with us today to share experiences and lessons learned from Vietnam. Please go ahead.
Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the UN Women Vietnam Country Office, and also thanks to our program ASEAN WPS and GPS, I would like to bring to you some lessons learned and some experiences that UN Women in Vietnam contribute to the development of the National Action Plan on Women, Peace and Security for Vietnam. My contents today, I will bring 4 issues. The first one is the implementation of WPS agenda in Vietnam, very brief, and also the remaining challenges in the country. The second one is on how UN Women in Vietnam, and also the regional of the NAP process, and also briefly, I would go through the key contents of the NAP, the draft NAP of Vietnam as of December 4 recently, and also share some lessons learned that we withdraw from the process. Firstly, about the implementation of the WPS agenda in Vietnam. Vietnam is quite good in bringing gender equality into the normative systems. We have gender equality law, we have the national strategy on gender equality, and recently launched the strategy on 2021 to 2030, and also other laws for promoting women's participation in political, economic, and social sectors. However, the law was looking into protection of women and eliminating discrimination against women. Why? This is because Vietnam considered is a country with no war and is a post-conflict country. So protection of women is a priority. Um, uh, since 2000, when the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 issues the W agenda, until now, Vietnam still thinking about itself not having conflicts, because conflicts is the word that more about armed conflict, yeah, not social conflict. So the country doesn't recognize social conflicts. It's more like a small disputes, not conflicts. So therefore, the normative system is more on gender equality and protecting women's and girls, and also more on applying the Convention on Elimination of Different Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, than looking from the WPS point of view with the 4 pillars. That's why the NAP of Vietnam, if it is approved by the Prime Minister, could have to fill the gaps, to fill this gap, because the government recently, after a few years, the program WPS agenda, now that we're working, raising the awareness of how important it is to look into the 4 pillars of protecting women's and girls and their human rights during the time of conflicts, crises, and disasters, which we call non-traditional security. There are challenges in the country so far. The first is about the social standards, custom, and practice. Because of this approach of protecting women and thinking that women and girls are physically weaker to be protected, therefore the decision making is more outside in the political and economic sphere. The man is more in preference, and the woman is more to make decisions inside the family. So this also because of the gender-based approach, ideology, or in other words, discrimination against women and girls. This empowering them, making them more vulnerable to when exposing to outside, having the time to make decisions, having the capacity to deal with conflict and crisis, they become more vulnerable. But the men are more empowered because they are the one who to make decisions outside, maybe in politics, maybe in economic development, while women is more on making decisions at the home front. And also to about access to control and resources, also because based on this particular thinking ideology and the social setting and context of our country, also Confucianism, and also more on Buddhism, looking into protecting women and girls, and the men having more decision-making process, more in decision-making process, therefore accessing to resources, for example, like credit, for example, like knowledge, for example, like promotion, is more, the man is more in a favorable condition than the women. And also for safety, also because of this gender bias expectation of women and girls, the contribution and share of themselves in the home and in the public are not recognized, not highlighted as much as men. So the women is more on supporting figure than the men. So when the society looking into a man and a woman, it's more like the man is making big decision, accessing to the loans, accessing to the promotion, and the women is more shining at the home front, dealing with the family relationship. Because in our culture, it's extended families. So we have those kind of social context, social challenges preventing women to participate in conflict and crisis prevention because they are more at the home front, not outside. Therefore, their capacity, their resilience towards emerging security issues especially non-traditional security issues, are limited and really need to have a kind of a mechanism to really empower them further so that they can be equally empowered as men at times of crisis and conflict, and also at time of peace. So these are some achievements and challenges that Vietnam is facing. And moving to the NAP development process, in the past 2 years, 3 years, since 2021, 2023, UN Women had done quite a lot to support the government of Vietnam through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to start raising awareness about women, peace and security agenda. This is a very new policy, new program, new ideology about protecting women and their human rights in time of conflict and crisis. In Vietnam, because we say, well, we don't have war, why do we have to think about it? So UN Women work with different stakeholders to support raising awareness among the public and in the government, and also within the international community to bring them together. We organize workshops, and we also bring the government to come to see the actual NAP model, National Action Plan, the NAP models of the other country, because seeing is believing. So when the government agency, for example, like the Ministry of Public Security, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Social Affairs, the Vietnam Women's Union, and other ministries, they see the models. Because we don't have NAP yet. So how about the other country, what they are doing? What kind of NAP? Is it for external? Is it for internal? Is that a mixed? So after few exposures to Jordan, to UK, to the US, they really see, this is something important we didn't have before. Because for example, like in Jordan, the women are not really empowered to be in the work front. So a little bit similar to our country, but in Vietnam, women still have to work a lot. But in Jordan, the women may not have to work, but the country realized that conflict would happen, crisis would happen. They have border with country that easily the conflict can spill over, the bad impacts. And also at the time to modernize the country. Women are 50% of the population, but they are hiding somewhere. They are not be part of the labor force. So really, Jordan, seeing that, protecting women, at the same time, tapping the resources to make them to become also equal contributor of the development of Jordan economic development. They start thinking about how really to involve women into different activities, political, social, economic. So that's how Vietnam also see the important lesson of how to tap into the untapped labor resources. That's at the half of the population, the women. And how about in UK, for example, the civil society is really bringing to the government a lot of valuable contribution to the government to really develop the NAP based on the needs of the society, bringing the NAP external NAP into more internal NAP, meaning handling the issue within the country, similarly to support the keeping the global peace. So we also bring to the US and see in a higher level in the US, they have even the WPS law. They call 2017 WPS Act. So they make it into a law. No matter which administration would happen, is that the Trump administration or Obama administration, is consistently applied in the country that we have to protect women. We have to implement the WPS agenda. And we issue the act so that it becomes law. So the Vietnamese delegation, when they come to see the varieties of approaches and practice, they really have the commitment and see how can Vietnam learn from those practices. And we also bring in international expertise, Mr. Mickey Chesavick, who come not only to help to bring the NAP model into the country, also look into he also studied comparatively SIG model to show to Vietnam what could be for Vietnam to pick from and how to develop a roadmap for the NAP development. Not only to develop the NAP, but how to monitor it, how to have the coordination mechanism, how to have a high impact NAP like Mrs. Rice already presented to you before. And also, he also himself come to the country voluntarily to show that not only the international donor community pay attention to how Vietnam could develop the NAP, but also the expert group also are really interested in seeing how Vietnam develop a high impact NAP and also how they can bring the expertise to come. Because we also bring Vietnam to join, although Vietnam not a member of the Women Peace Security Focal Point Network, but Vietnam is willing to come as an observer and see how the government agencies, the civil society, the academies, they come together and talk about WPS and talk about the NAP and talk about the lessons and the challenges. And so the fact that Mr. Miki Chasavic coming to Vietnam is also kind of confirming that the attention is really high to keep an eye on how Vietnam is doing developing the NAP. And we also have the Canadian ambassador for WPS coming, showing that it's not only from a big group, it's also individual influencing people who really lend support and appreciate the government initiative to start thinking, developing the NAP. And besides all these activities, I have indicated, maybe the PowerPoint will be shared later, but not only the core activities, we do all the lobbying activities also together with this within these 2 days. But this initiative of the NAP is from the government, is owned by the government of Vietnam, based on the Hanoi commitment that was made in 2020, when 70 countries endorsed this Hanoi commitment. So from their commitment, they move to action. They really do it. And then we come in the right time to really help them to develop the NAP. And I would like to go through a little bit on the NAP of Vietnam. The main goal is to ensure and further promote gender equality, enhance the role, position, voice, rights, obligations, and responsibilities of women in participating in the fields of peace and security, contributing to maintaining peace, stability, and sustainable development nationally and globally. So that means the NAP could be internal for Vietnam and also external, contribute to keeping the peace of the world. For the timeline, we have from 2024 to 2030, that means 7 years. And then in 2024, next year, mostly if the Prime Minister approve is this year, then next year could be the full years to really develop the M&E system, the monitoring evaluation system, the coordination system, the actual plan, maybe the local NAP for the provinces and for the participating ministries. And by 2027, there could be a midterm review is to see how the NAP is implemented, and also if there are changes or there are updates or some improvement of the framework. And by 2030, we would have the evaluation of the NAP to plan for the next NAP. For financing the NAP, in the draft NAP, there is a part on the NAP, although it's not concrete like in Philippines, but they also already identify different sources to tap on, for example, like the government policy and program related to gender equality, and also international support. They also look into socialized capital, meaning that maybe some model, some practice that the government and the society combine doing together. This is also new. And also they also allow for the organization or like a institution who can raise the fund, can implement a part of the NAP. So it's not only owned by the government, implemented by government. The Vietnam government would want to look into an all society approach in implementing the NAP. So the NAP have 4 key objectives, and similar to the 4 pillars, they also look into how to increase the meaningful participation of women in the fields of politics, foreign affairs, defense, security, and in handling and responding to security challenges, including non-traditional security, for example, like cyber security. We also consider as a non-traditional security. Objective 2 is about prevent and better respond to gender-based violence, because it's still rampant, as I presented to you before, of the way how they think about the women's roles and responsibility and decision-making and access to resources. And also the objective 3, more on relief and recovery, on how to mainstream gender into relief and recovery, including overcoming consequences of war also, for example, like landmines, and preventing and responding to crises, disasters, and non-traditional security challenges. And objective 4 is how Vietnam to strengthen its international cooperation to promote the implementation of the WPS agenda. And there are a few tasks mostly on reviewing and improve the normative framework, improve the effectiveness of the work of the current prevention and control of gender-based violence, and build the capacity for the government agencies and the provincial governments also in promoting the participation of women in different arenas in dealing with international peace and security, and also participation in bilateral and multilateral collaboration to promote the WPS, and maximize the expertise and technical and financial assistance from all the international communities. And we have a concrete alignment of the WSNAP to the regional plan of action. Similarly, if you look into the six strategic outcome of the regional plan of action, we also have allied, we support the government to align also with the 4 objectives with these six strategic outcomes. I already classified into the matrix. And we have 14 ministries and agencies involved in the implementation, in the development of the NAP, the drafting and development of the NAP. But leading for the implementation of the NAP, the government planned initially that coordination and detailed planning of the NAP, specifically in 2024 for the detailed development, would be the leading ministry is MOFA, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and implementing agency will be same also foreign affairs and social affairs, public securities, national defense, agriculture and rural developments, and health and natural resource environment, and the people committees of the provinces. So it's quite a big, a kind of big platform, including key ministries involved in the implementation, in detailed implementation of the NAP, and especially is the nice thing of this draft NAP is that it also indicates the social organization, social technical organization that is under the Fatherland Front. And also social organization, meaning in other words, other countries can call them civil society organization. We have about 400 of them in Vietnam. So in this NAP, they also mentioned about social organization, meaning this type of civil society organization. So I think it is the first national action plan that includes the other social organizations. So now in the final part is the key lesson learned. I will be quick on this and we can have the Q&A. I think the first important element for these 2 or 3 years is really the leadership from the government, when with MOFA taking the lead to coordinate with other ministries. At first, we have only 4 ministries looking into developing the NAP, but now we have 14 ministries and agencies really interested in developing it and later on implementing it. So this is really the leadership and commitment from the government. And also we also have leadership from our UN agencies, for example, like UN Women, country representative, and also we have the UN resident coordinator also being there with us when we have to present the ideology to the government. We also have other UN agencies to be ready to give the technical inputs into the process. Besides, we also have the committed support from the international agency, for example, like Canada Embassy, UK Embassy, US Embassy, the EU, the Germany Embassy. They are always there ready to look into how can they support, because they see how important it is for Vietnam to have this national action plan. And we also work with the civil society a lot. In Vietnam, we don't call civil society, and the space for them to take part is really starting to getting a little bit smaller due to different reasons. But in this process, they really come and be part of it and raise their voice and put some questions. We record it, and it's also show how MOFA, as a leading agency, they have a different approach with other ministry. Other ministry more cautious about the participation of the civil society organization, but MOFA, they are more like they are welcoming them, and then they come and raise a voice, and it's build the confidence for the civil society organizations, and later on they can be ready to be part of the implementer. We also see the importance of the cross-sector support, because not only MOFA is taking the lead, but also MOD, National Defense, Public Security, they're always there. They always be part of the all discussion, and social affairs also. And we also know that capacity building and exposure is very important. The document we printed and shared with different stakeholders, the expertise coming from international, regional. We also bring the national experts to come and talk about doing the gap analysis and present to the different stakeholders. And we also have the exposures coming to see the actual NAP model. And also, we also have the gender responsive budgeting. For example, Vietnam, many participants ask, okay, we have a NAP, but how can we finance it? Where's the money from? We have many other gender equality programs, not yet financed in Vietnam. Even the state budget law has a part, one part on gender budgeting, but it doesn't have any concrete guidance. And therefore, the gender equality implementation is still a little bit weak. So the concern about how to finance the NAP, initially we have the gender responsive budgeting training to the stakeholders, to the main ministries, and later on next year with the launch of this toolkit, because in the toolkit we have quite some tools for us to also start on it to build more on the provincial plan and also doing the gender financing. And also other important is the M&E and data management, but that could be done in 2024. So I will stop my share here.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hong. That was quite an amazing overview of what Vietnam has done since 2020. It started with a high-level political commitment right up to 2023, when they actually have a draft national action plan. There are just so many things to highlight here, but most important is to note that this is the first time that Vietnam is actually developing and implementing a national action plan. It is also a lesson learned in how to contextualize and understand the different social norms that exist in Vietnam and other countries. As highlighted by Ms. Hong, this is not a conflict-impacted country. Of course, the entire Southeast Asian region, we have experienced conflict and crisis in the past, but this is a forward-looking national action plan. So what were some of the issues that Vietnam was grappling with? There were some of the emerging issues, but more importantly, also about how to improve overall the situation of women and girls in terms of their empowerment, decision-making, access and control over resources, some of the issues that Ms. Hong has highlighted, the kind of social conflict that exists in almost every society in Asia Pacific, but also globally. And so I think there's some of the lessons learned that I can just briefly summarize, is that it is important to actually accept comparative experiences of other countries, to build the capacity of the agencies that will be tasked to implement the national action plan, but also the consistent political will that is required throughout the NAP process since 2020, which exists, of course, not only at the highest level, but also among the other agencies such as the Ministry of Defense. I also wanted to mention that I think it is excellent that the plan is aligned to the regional plan of action, of course, and therefore contributing to that regional approach that we really want ASEAN member states to pursue. And also regarding the lessons learned, I think there are just so many within these short 3 years that Vietnam has undertaken this, including, of course, her comments on how important it was to make sure that this plan is integrated into the budgeting considerations. Many action plans around the world has no budget, and therefore, they're not implemented properly. And so the experiences from both the Philippines and Vietnam are truly invaluable for countries such as Cambodia that are actually considering putting in place a national action plan. Now, I want to stop here and I want to see, and we have some time and an opportunity for all of you to ask questions from the very excellent presentation of these two speakers. So we're opening the floor now, and please do, we'll pass around the mic if you have any question for the two speakers. And if we could also bring Susanna back online. Does anyone have any questions? So we have Rice from UN Women who have a question. Does anyone else want to ask questions? This is your opportunity. These two women have gone through with the government, through the entire processes of developing a national action plan. Okay, so we're going to start with Rice, and then I have a couple of questions as well that I would like to ask the speakers. Please go ahead, Rice.
I want to direct my question to Madam Susanna, ASEC Susanna online. So nice to see you. I wanted to ask you to elaborate a little bit the newness, the new aspect of these NAPs on the BPS in the Philippines, this fourth generation. I know that there are a few topics that has been taken into consideration. And I want you to, if you can highlight some of those things, I think it will be very helpful for ASEAN member state of what are the new aspect of the NAPS fourth generation that has been taken into consideration of the Philippines that is different from the previous one, including issues of gender diversity and some of the new aspect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rice, does anyone else have a question? No? Okay, so my question is for Ms. Hong. What are your recommendations for member states who wish to include emerging security risks but have little capacity to do so? What would you recommend that they do? So we're going to ask Susanna to respond to the first question and then Ms. Hong for the second question. Susanna, please go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you. Good to see you also, Rice. We missed you. We would have wanted for you to be with us during the launch. But the themes that were added to the plan were essentially those that came out from the Sunset Review, and this straddles along issues of cyber security, climate change, masculinities. I think, and making emphasis on the different and intersecting identities of women is being highlighted in this NAP, as well as recognizing the men also encounter violence in conflict situations. So we have a pillar where the agenda of men is included in this plan. We also included here very apparent or significant action points for former combatants, which includes its reintegration program, reintegration processes, and amnesty. Strengthening the role of each of the agencies, because we need to improve on our mainstreaming work and the ability to track progress of the different agency plans. I think other than the plan, what we added to the strategy in terms of the consultations, and we hope would be a viable contribution to our localization work, is including the regional GAD advisory development committees, which are mechanisms in each of the development planning bodies of government. We thought of involving them in the consultations, and these are around 14 regional bodies across the entire Philippines. The localization strategy of the Philippines involves two modalities. One is having their own plans, and another one is embedding or including the agenda in the existing plans of either the national agencies, the local governments, the regional agencies like the RGADCs, down the line up to the different programs. And we would like to really work on a localization process that will have plans that are nearest to the grassroots, so that the programs, the plans and activities will really be felt by the communities and the women in the communities. So I hope that I was able to answer your question, Rice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Susanna. I'm turning to Ms. Hong for the next question.
Maybe I list a little bit of the non-traditional security, because normally traditional security, we talk about armed conflict. We talk about border conflict, maybe between provinces, maybe between countries, but non-traditional security could be something already happening in the country, but without arms, without weapons. But it's really doing a lot of harm to women and girls. I take some example that the major non-traditional security issues are happening these days. For example, like health crisis. We recently, the whole world and every country observed the pandemic, COVID-19. It's unprecedented, and it really weakened all the effort on gender equality we have made so far, because women and men are stayed at home most of the time in the time of the health crisis like that. Women are taking away their jobs, taking away their energies, taking away their entertainment, taking away their opportunity for a little bit more incomes, because that's how they gain the independence and also empowerment. And they also be exposed more on domestic violence, because at the time of crisis, women and girls have to take care of sick people most of the time because of the gender based roles. So we never observed that magnitude of how women were taken away their rights, their dignity, and also their empowerment that they built, and we support them to build so far. And this non-traditional equity may be over, but may come back anytime. If we have COVID-19 in 2019, we may have COVID-24 in 2024, or maybe COVID-26 in 2026. So we never know. It's unprecedented. How are we prepared for this? How we are prepared for protecting women and girls at the home front, where they are supposed to be all the time, besides being in the office. So that is one non-traditional security. The second one is about cyber security, cyber bullying, cyber harassment, phishing, stealing, stock taking, all about how they take advantage of the vulnerability of women and girls online. And online, parents will not know, family will not know, and the women, they never tell. For example, like in Vietnam, even physical violence, the victim who are women, 90% of them never go seek support because of the thinking, because of the vulnerability, because of availability of services. But for cyber bullying and cyber harassment, they would not tell anybody. I think maybe 100%. And the impact on their psychological well-being is so great. It's devastating, and it's very difficult to build. If you have an arm injured, you can go to the doctor, fix it. But if you have in your psychological development, it takes years, and it takes really subtle service and support to really recover. So cyberbullying, cyber security is also a very dangerous non-traditional security that we have to think about, the member states have to think about. The other one is human trafficking, cross-border human trafficking. It's also emerging issues. How do we protect women and girls? Because of poverty, parents push the women and children into being trafficked with the easy labor, with the high salary in other countries. Who protect them? The government have the rules and regulations to protect them. The embassies there protect them. These are big questions. In Vietnam, we have cases from the Middle East, from Korea, the women being beaten to death in those countries. Or a lot of women bring their kids from China back to Vietnam without father, without identity. So how are we going to protect women who are voluntary or involuntary going to work in another country? Because our country are developing. We have human resources, young people, they can work in other country. The remittance from other country to our country is very high. It's also to support the development, economic development of our country. But how are we going to protect those valuable workers working in other countries, especially women and girls, so that they can come back home healthy, with the knowledge, with the skill, and with the dignity, not going there as a worker, low-class worker, being beaten, being harassed. So all those issues we also have to think about. And the other one is the climate change and disaster. In our member states, especially in the Mekong region, we are so prone to climate risks. We talk about climate security. It's also emerging non-traditional security, and the recent COP28 also talk about it. And for example, like in our Mekong region, 60 million people living along the Mekong River, and half of them are women and girls, and they have to be dependent on the river, the water security, and they also dependent on the fish source as the main nutrition. But because of drought, because of flood, they may be so prone to different risks of losing their employment, losing their job, losing the water, clean water, and they cannot change the crops as fast as the weather change. In Vietnam today, maybe we say we don't have winter anymore. So maybe winter crop is at the risk of maybe no develops. So what kind of other crop, So we have to think about also all the issues of disasters and climate risks that can bring back to women and girls. Yes.
Thank you very much, Ms. Songa and Susanna. I think it is important that we look at how we can build our capacity and understanding and knowledge of all these emerging issues, which globally we're struggling to understand, because they do have an impact on peace and security. And there is evidence, of course, that climate security is a key emerging peace and security issue, and how do we apply the women, peace and security lens to address these emerging issues. Tomorrow we will be unpacking a little bit more on cybersecurity as well as on climate change for the workshop that some of you will be attending. So with that, I would like to conclude the session, unless everyone has the last opportunity for you to ask questions.
There's a question online.
Online, can you please read it out for me? All right. So the question is, having this experience of all the process of developing National Action Plan, what do you think what do you think of the biggest challenges to formalize the National Action Plan in Cambodia? Any recommendations for Cambodia for the kickoff process? It's a great question. Susanna, would you like to respond first? Any recommendations for Cambodia to initiate this process?
But I would know if I should recommend to Cambodia, because I'm not very familiar with the dynamics of Cambodia. But coming in from our own experience, it really was very helpful that there was a strong leadership in the government that pushed for the agenda. And there was a very good CSO movement or group that worked together with that government agency. We also, looking at our experience, I believe the Philippines is the only country whose SNAP is spearheaded by a peace process office. And the women's agency. So I think that's one good. I mean, that's the experience that we have. And also making policy instruments where the agenda will stand firm on, like what you were able to present. We have laws, we have memorandum circulars, we have a budget policy that allows for funding of our plan. I think all of those contribute to how we were able to push and sustain, and we have a political leadership that recognizes and continues to support the agenda, which I think is very important. At some point, maybe we lost some engagements with CSOs, but we are getting back to a more collaborative work with the CSOs, and we are really hopeful that the expanded composition of the steering committee will come to fruition through that amended executive order. Yeah, so I guess because that's the only where we can get some insights from. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Susanna. No, those are really insightful considerations for Cambodia to consider. Ms. Hong, do you have anything to add?
From the experience in Vietnam, I would like to give four like a focal area of focus for your consideration. The first one is the coordination mechanism. Maybe think early in advance, because when we put all the ministries together to work in one issue, that may be quite complex. You know, like in Vietnam, for example, to get to a common understanding of what is non-traditional security, what to put in, where the need, who is need, then it could be a lot of discussion. And in that way, coordination is important, but the leadership for that coordination is even more important, with the leading ministry really strong, empowered, and really entrusted by the minister or prime minister to take lead of this process. That's one. The second is expertise. Expertise not only in the designing of the NAP, but like the toolkit have mentioned, it's not only about sitting together and talk about the NAP. It's about mapping the resources. It's about looking into the needs, you know, looking into the capacity of each agency, so that at the time we sit down together to discuss the content of the NAP, we have the data, we have the experience, we have the best practices to discuss. And it's also important to map the current practices. We don't reinvent the wheel. We have to base on something our society already so many years. We have coped with war, we have coped with crisis. We already built a lot of good practices. We need to document, because these are our people's wisdom, our people's approach. You know, you don't have to spend more money in few things without the wisdom to design the activity and implement it. And when they make ownership of their initiative, their commitment to implement it is very high. And the other one is gender financing. We may start maybe beginning with looking into the resources, and also building the skill to do the gender financing. In Vietnam, we have a tool, an Excel sheet ready-made for 7 years, so that when you enter one activity, and then you would enter into the cost, and it could come out for every year, for 5 years, for 7 years, and total. So we share that template also later on.
That,
Yeah, yeah.
yes,
So
absolutely.
it's really important to think about the tool, the knowledge, the resources, and then sit together and see where the finance from, where can we maximize the resources. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hong, and also Susanna. I think there's just so many lessons, and considerations that you can take from other ASEAN member states, for Cambodia, but also other countries who are looking at the map. ASEAN member states are there, within the WPS, within the Regional Plan of Action family, to help each other to realize the full potential of the WPS agenda. And we hope that, these events, these workshops, is really going to help you by bringing in the visions and the experiences of all the ASEAN member states as well. So we hope that you found this useful. We will see you tomorrow and for the full workshop, where we will, of course, unpack and understand a little bit better on the processes and the issues at hand. So a big thank you to Susanna and Ms. Hogg. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. And we will pass you on now to Miguel for the next session. Thank you so much. A big round of applause, please.
Thank you very much to our moderator and two speakers. We are about to conclude this afternoon's launch. But before that, I'd like to invite our friend from UN Women, Madonna, to share some instructions on how we can all give our assessment to this lovely event. Madonna, please.
Thank you so much, Miguel. Good afternoon, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for participating in this event. We really hope that this event has provided you with an opportunity to confirm and gain new insight into the WPS agenda. To this end, we would be very interested in your views following participation in this event. We would very much appreciate it if you could complete the survey now. Please scan this QR code on the screen and please fill out the survey through online. We will have 15 minutes for completing the survey. Your answers to this survey will enable us to follow up with programming that matches your needs. For in-person participants, please let me know if you need my assistance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madonna, for giving us the instructions on how to use the QR code and also giving some time for all the participants here in the ballroom as well as online to finish the assessment form. So we're still giving our participants some time to complete the survey. I see that a lot of them are using their mobile gadgets to respond to the survey, I think, yeah. While people are still replying to the assessment form, just a quick announcement, as we've mentioned at the start of this event, this is the launch of the toolkit, but tomorrow there will be an awareness raising workshop. And I understand that the venue for the workshop will be in the same hotel, but at the ground level. So for the in-person participants, tomorrow's venue will be at the ground level here at the same hotel. And registration will start at 8 o'clock in the morning. That's 8 o'clock in the morning, registration time. Event. And to officially close this event, I would like to invite Her Excellency Kung Surita, Secretary of State of the Ministry of Women's Affairs of Cambodia and Chair of the Advisory Group on Women, Peace and Security in ASEAN, to deliver closing remarks. Her Excellency, please.
Okay. Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We have come to the end of the launch of the localization toolkit and guideline for the ASEAN Regional Plan of Action on Women's Peace and Security. And I would like to express my sincere appreciation for your valuable presence and participations. It is truly engaging to witness and on the WPF agenda being moved forward with continued momentum. Also stem and also support since the ASEAN joint statement on the promoting women peace and security was adopted in 2017. Last year, we forged ahead with the developments of the ASEAN RPA on WPS and celebrate its adoption and officially launch here in Phnom Penh City. Certainly, we acknowledge that our effort need to continue as the regional commitment plan and also priority must be translated into action. Therefore, the localization initiative is one of the most significant priority action in implementing in Asian RPA on WPS. Today, we were introduced to the ASEAN Toolkit and Guideline to localize and regional plan of action on WPS, including the definition of localization, possible approaching required steps as well as the importance of monitoring and evaluation in tracking our process. I truly appreciate the sharing of the practical experience and also lesson learned regarding to the design and the implementation of the National Action Plan on WPF by Philippines and Vietnam. I hope that this Cambodia will also soon be formulate the National Action Plan with all of you. As a testament of our commitment and also conviction to lead the localization initiative tomorrow, we will continue with the awareness raising event in Cambodia, focusing on the role of national action plans in the implementing on the WPF agenda, and also on once we have gathered from the experience of the WPS program and work in Cambodia so far. I trust that we all continue to make the most use of the important toolkit as its instrument for the impactful advancement of the WPS agenda at all levels. I would like to express my gratitude once again to ASEAN representative, UN Women, and also a development partner, the ASEAN Secretary, and all of you who makes this launch successful events today. And see you tomorrow. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for the closing remarks. So on this note, congratulations everyone for the successful launch of the toolkit. We look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow for the awareness raising workshop. Thank you to all the online participants. This concludes this afternoon's event. Thank you.